night shift, two process operators are performing a leak test to get process equipment ready after maintenance on a cut-off valve. Valve and blinding lists have been developed for maintenance work, but not for the leak test, since it's considered a purely routine job. This is also completely in line with controlling documents on the platform. Earlier that day, the maintenance department had worked on a gas compressor that was supposed to be washed with water before startup. The water washing was supposed to be completed during the day shift, but due to various problems, the job is not finished until the night shift. The maintenance personnel begin running out of time when one of the process operators is asked to leave the leak test in favour of washing the gas compressor. The operator who is left behind knows that this will affect the buddy check, but since the leak test is just a routine job and he has done it many times before, he assumes it will be all right. The operator opens and closes the valves and lets one valve remain untouched, in accordance with the valve and blinding lists. While bleeding off the flow line, the operator leaves the bleeding valves to open the final valve on the valve list. When this valve has been opened, all valves are in accordance with the valve list, and the operator signs the job off as completed. The bleeding valves are forgotten. When it is opened for cold import gas again, a technician registers deviations in the gas flow in two parallel gauges on the gas measurement instrument. But since measurement deviation is a common problem, this is not followed up further in the central control room. During the night, hydrates form in the flow line system, and at dawn there is a process shutdown.
Today there's been a full stop in gas production on the Tordenskjold platform. Rough estimates set losses at 39 million Norwegian kroner. Today, gas production came to a complete halt on the Tordenskjold platform. And platform manager Tom Hydrot, why did this happen?
The direct cause is that two bleeding valves were forgotten after a leak test, and over the course of the night a hydrate plug developed in our flow line.
Forgotten? So are you saying that the cause is purely a human error?
No, you see, it's not quite so simple.
And what exactly do you mean by that?
We'll be taking a closer look at that now as our internal investigation starts up, and we have to consider, among other things, whether the procedures were correct and followed properly.
Are you implying that the procedures were wrong?
Yeah, the fact that the bleeding valves were not on the valve and blinding list for the maintenance operation gives us an indication that the controlling documentation on the platform is not updated in accordance with the company's controlling documentation.
Are you always on top of updates to procedures that affect your job? Living up to updates to controlling documentation is critical for ensuring that work is performed safely on the platform. This applies to individuals as well as supervisors in charge.
Is it not a critical point that documentation on the platform is not up to date?
Yeah, and it's clear that our routines for updating documentation are not adequate, something I as a manager need to get a handle on right away. But the leak test was actually considered a routine job in this instance.
What do you mean by that?
It means that the process operators do it often and that it's a job that sits on your bones, and that's why the leak test wasn't part of the planning for the maintenance job.
How much do you agree with this statement? Routine jobs don't need to be planned as carefully as other tasks. Routine job. Is that a good excuse for not planning the job properly? It is poor practice not to live up to procedures, even on routine jobs. Because if conditions change, like they do here, where two operators are reduced to one, is it still a routine job?
So, valve and blinding lists really should have been developed for the leak test, and the leak test should have been planned as part of the maintenance job.
Now that's what should have been done, and here we have a job to do when it comes to changing attitudes towards this type of work. In addition, the process operators should have been informed about the water washing before they left.
So, they were not informed?
No, unfortunately not. The handover was not good enough here. If the operators had known that they had to perform a water wash on their shift before they left, they could have asked for more people to complete the task or waited to conduct the leak test until after the water washing had been completed.
Mr. Tom Hydrett, thank you very much for coming in on such short notice.
How can we keep this from happening again? Click on the headings to learn more about how this incident could have been avoided. Management is responsible for ensuring that the procedures on the platform are updated, which has not happened in this instance. It is up to management to clarify that there will be time to maintain focus and prioritise jobs in progress. Yeah, okay, it'll be fine. I've done it 1,000 times before. I'll have it done in no time. Have you heard that before? Thought that before? A lot of work operations are purely routine, but a routine job also requires you to follow the procedures. Like this example demonstrates, poor practice and a poor attitude toward routine jobs in general had clearly developed on the platform. If valve and blinding lists had been developed for the leak test as required by the updated procedures, the bleeding valves would definitely not have been forgotten. The job was not planned properly. The leak test should have been part of the planning for the maintenance job and should not have been considered an independent routine task. When several things are being done at the same time, it's very important to estimate the scope of the work. There was also a breakdown in good handover practice. The operators on the night shift should have received both written and oral information about the anticipated water washing, so they could plan their shift better. When the operator was finished with the leak test, there was no buddy check. Neither was there a meeting in the central control room with all those involved about what was done before startup. This should have been done and could have caught that the bleeding valves were open. Due to poor planning and a poor handover, the operators were put in a difficult position. If one of the operators had not helped out on the water washing job before its time limit expired, the water washing could not have been completed during this shutdown and would have resulted in large production losses. Since the attitude was that the leak test was a purely routine job, it was easy to think of economy before safety. That turned out to be fateful. Following procedures is important, even on routine jobs.